Hello, thanks for watching this. I'll give you a quick little tour of what I got going here. I'll try to go quick. I'll be quiet. I'll just walk around a little bit and be quiet so you can listen to whatever noises it's making. Make sure that it's normal. And you can see this is my dent. It's kind of hard to see at various angles. This is my dent from the drop. That was a bummer. One note, I did add a butterfly valve here. It just made kind of it made management a little easier at the beginning and the end of the day. That way I can close this valve off. I can open this valve up and dump the contents of this into this, and then I can wheel this lower bucket away independently and clean it more efficiently. And then with this thing, with the pipe now closed off with water in it, I can drain it. You know, it's easier to drain it into a basin. So I'm still designing and thinking of, you know, a good method of startup and shutdown. You know, it's tricky. So I wanted to also show you a couple things. One, the way my roaster is configured. You can see the back of the San Franciscan. The cooling air comes out here, comes up, comes over, comes across, and feeds into this piece of intermediate ducting up above. This right here, you can see this in this adhesive line, this sticky adhesive now getting all dusty and gross, is left over from the fiberglass tape that the device was, or that was originally shipped. Logically, it makes sense that wouldn't work as steam condenses up in the rest of the stack. It is obvious that steam would condense, water would drip down and come out, and that's exactly what happened. The top is all still messy from dry leakage. What I ended up using was just black rubber weather stripping. It's not very attractive, but it works. And that there was no, you know, that was a frustrating point a little bit with Alliance. Just like this 10-inch clamp, there was nothing sent to attach the VortX to this intermediate ducting that they designed for me. So, you know, I'm glad that this clamp said Lorenz, because I could do some research and find a way to buy this. So I just bought this. So this 10-inch clamp was something that I asked for directly, not something that was sent as part of the package. Okay, and then another funny thing, because the cooling air dumps in, or you know, the inlet is above the VortX, what ends up happening is I have to run my cooling air on the roaster all the time. The first time I fired it all up, it was terrifying because, sorry, I got a bunch of samples in the cooling tray, but the first time what happens is if the VortX is running, while the VortX is running, and we get the roaster up and cooking, you know, get it heating, when it gets pretty hot, you know, when we get up close to charge, you know, after 20 minutes or a half an hour or whatever, steam will start rising from the cooling tray because it builds up and then comes down this ducting, you know, and then across and back around and makes its way all the way up and in. And that's, you know, so now I just run the cooling air all the time. But that is what it is. I do have a slight concern about long-term operation with this system, because, I mean, not a concern, just it's going to be a cleaning thing, because what I find is, you know, this is the inlet side. The air obviously comes from here into the cyclone, blah, 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 and then air back out this way into the VortX. And when I empty this chaff bin, it's not wet, but it's not dry. It's kind of steamy, hot, steamy, moist, if that kind of makes sense. So I'm, and we've barely even started roasting. Here we are, almost February. We barely even started roasting on a production basis. This week, in fact, is going to be the first time we ever roast all of our coffee, and we don't use any. We're not going to use the old roaster at all. And so, as we really get into the swing of things, and as we get into the summer, I'm just concerned that, this is going to become a maintenance nightmare. Am I going to need to tear these? Am I going to need to tear this whole ventilation system apart every, twice a month or whatever, and clean it out? Probably the answer is yes, and I guess that's the nature of the beast, but that's something I'm dealing with.